Hello, this is Team Two's presentation, Hacking the Airwaves. The team consists of Kevin Dobyns, Phil Swain, Michael Torres, Marcus Noel, and myself, Benny Hill. The agenda, we will be covering the analysis tool, Aircrack-ng, BlueMaho, and Fern. We will provide a comprehensive analysis and a demo, and we will start off with Aircrack-ng.
Aircrack-ng is a wireless network analyzer and attacker. This tool has many capabilities and focuses on several different areas of Wi-Fi security. Number one, monitoring, packet capture and export of data to text files for further processing by third-party tools. Two, attacking, replay attacks, deauthentication, fake access points, and others via packet injection. Testing, checking Wi-Fi cards and driver capabilities, capture and injection. Number four, cracking, WEP and WPA, PSK, and WPA 1 and 2. For our purposes, we'll be focusing on the cracking abilities of Aircrack-ng. By kicking devices off the targeted network, a hacker can force devices to reconnect to the network and exchange a sequence of packets. This is called a four-way handshake. This handshake is enough for a hacker to brute force its way into the targeted network. As you can see on our slide, Aircrack-ng is a complete suite of tools to assess Wi-Fi network security. There are several advantages as well as disadvantages to this tool. Primarily, it is almost certainly guaranteed to work. There's a lot of flexibility and it allows for heavy scripting. It's fairly easy to get Aircrack-ng and the drivers working on Windows. It is very portable. Not to mention, it is open source software and it works on a number of different Unix and Linux devices. Some disadvantages. At this point, Aircrack-ng requires an in-depth knowledge of Kali Linux and the command lines since there is no GUI, and it might be difficult to configure as a VM. On the right side of this slide, you can see the terminal view of a successful hack with Aircrack-ng. Later in our presentation, we will demonstrate how to use Aircrack-ng. Next, I will pass it off to Michael Torres, who's going to describe our next tool, BlueMaho.
BlueMaho is a graphic user interface-based Bluetooth analysis suite. It supports Bluetooth and Bluetooth Low Energy, and it is free and open source. It is not, however, currently actively maintained, and it can only perform a predefined set of attacks. It does expose the ability for the user of the tool to send any Bluetooth command via a modem interface, but that requires a fair amount of in-depth knowledge about the Bluetooth protocol. You can also upload files, play sounds on remote systems, and things of that nature. Unfortunately, for the penetration test of enterprise networks, Bluetooth is not a very commonly used protocol. If you were testing against personal devices, such as a cell phone or a laptop, it would be more common for the Bluetooth protocol to be seen and be considered under test. Next, I will pass it off to Marcus, who's going to describe our final tool, the Fern Wi-Fi cracker.
Thank you, Michael. Fern Wi-Fi cracker is a Python software tool that was created by CYBR Emmanuel. Fern Wi-Fi cracker was originally designed to be used in discovering flaws and on network, so it's very easy to use. It uses Python Qt, GUI library to perform wireless attacks and auditing. Fern Wi-Fi cracker can crack and discover lost WPA, WEP, and WPS keys. It can also launch network-based attacks on Ethernet or wireless networks. It has a graphical user interface, which is that you can see it on the right. That's very easy to use, very intuitive. It supports WEP key cracking with many attacks, such as ARP request replay, fragment attacks, cafe latte attacks, or chop attacks. Fern Wi-Fi can also launch in dictionary-based attacks or WPS attacks for cracking WPA, WPA2 key. After a successful attack, the recovery key is stored in a database that you can access at any time. He has an automatic access point attack system. It can hijack sessions in different Ethernet modes. Fern can also track AP MAC address and geographical location. It can also launch brute force attack and internal man-in-the-middle engine attacks on HTTP, HTTPS, Telnet, and FTP servers. That's it about Fern Wi-Fi Cracker. Now I'm gonna hand it to Kevin Dobyns. That's gonna talk, tell us more about like the three tools.
Thank you, Marcus. So I'm going to go over these three tools and how they compare and differ. And I'm also going to provide some security recommendations that we've come up with. So fundamentally, these three tools are very different, yet they can all be used to achieve the same goal, crack Wi-Fi encryption. So starting with Aircrack-ng, as Phillip mentioned earlier, Aircrack-ng works by kicking off devices, kicking devices off the targeted network, and a hacker can force devices to reconnect to that network and exchange a sequence of packets. This four-way handshake is enough for a hacker to brute force its way into the network by trying a huge list of passwords against the captured handshake. WEP is broken through statistical mathematical analysis, while WPA PSK and WPA2 are broken by brute force attack against known passwords. Some security recommendations that we have for Aircrack-ng. First and foremost, a strong password. Don't use the default on your router. The best passwords are created using cryptographically secure pseudo-random number generators. Due to the fact that brute force attacks do not require interacting with the router at all and are only passively observing existing connections, it's impossible to detect brute force attacks such as this. So it's really, really important to have that strong password. Moving on to BlueMaho. So BlueMaho is a little bit different in that it's not a traditional wireless network analyzer and attack tool like Aircrack-ng or Fern Wi-Fi Cracker. BlueMaho discovers vulnerable Bluetooth devices, and then from the hacker can use their skills to install malware, access your personal information and your network information, etc. Our security recommendations around BlueMaho are essentially to turn off your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth when not in use. If you keep your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth active on your device, hackers can see what networks you've connected to previously and could harness this information for nefarious means. Additionally, we recommend two-factor authentication on your online accounts. Simply put, it's an effective way to keep out hackers. Moving on to Fern Wi-Fi Cracker. So Fern Wi-Fi Cracker is similar to Aircrack-ng in that it is a network analyzer and attack tool. And it utilizes brute force attacks to gain access. Our security recommendations around Fern Wi-Fi are similar to that of Aircrack-ng. The best security in this instance would be a strong password. Some other similarities, all of these tools are open source, which is fantastic. That makes it easy to download and easy to access, and they're available to anybody who would like to use them. Two of these have graphic user interfaces, and Aircrack-ng is the one that doesn't. It runs from the command line. The one caveat here too is Fern Wi-Fi Cracker, although it does have a GUI, it has to be accessed from the command line, so it does require a little bit of expertise in that area. So that's a little bit about these three tools, how they compare, how they work. And so now Michael's going to walk us through one of these tools in our demonstration. He's going to walk us through Aircrack-ng. Take it away, Michael.
Hello, this is Michael again. I'm going to be demonstrating the use of Aircrack. You might note that it looks like I'm in a Linux terminal, but I am in Windows. That's because you can't mount the wireless adapter in your laptop into a virtual machine. So instead I SSH'd into a different laptop that I have somewhere else in my house. So here goes. So the first thing you have to do is turn on monitor mode for your adapter. So we can see my adapter is WL01. So we'll go ahead and start monitor mode on that. Now if we run just if we run just Aeromon again, you can see the name of the adapter. And then Aero dump is usually the next step. So that's where you can actually see connections. And this gives you a bunch of information. So you can see the BSSID, which is essentially the MAC address of the base station, the type of encryption being used, and the ESSID, or the name of the internet connection, right? Now, because I live in an apartment, there's a whole lot of data here, and not all of it's really useful, and cycles really quickly because there's so many wireless access points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out those results a little bit. So using the options specified in the manual, I can filter out for our actual authenticated beacons, and I can filter out for things that have an ESSID because that is optional. And I'm also going to go ahead and get the manufacturer information while I'm at it because that's kind of interesting to me. So that obviously is to get me the manufacturer information. TAC A says only give me authenticated clients, and then I'm going to use a regular expression to just say anything that has a ESSID. Oh, and it auto-corrected me because I messed up. Yes, I did that. Now we see a much shorter list. It cycles a little less frequently, and you can see the manufacturer over here on the side, which is interesting. You can see, I mean, a lot of us use the same modems, probably because a lot of us have the same internet service provider living in the same apartment building. But you do see some things like printers and things like that. If I filter for non-encrypted networks, you can see like this TV has what's called Wi-Fi Direct. And that's why it's an open Wi-Fi network and things like that. Now, I'm not going to show it because it would be illegal for me to do it, but if you were to want to crack the actual password of a WPA network, what you could do is specify the name. So I'm going to specify my own name here. This is my SSID in case you ever come over or you're a fan of the show The Good Place. And specify an out file to write to. So I'm just going to do middle and then let it run. And it doesn't look like it in this view, but it is actually capturing all those packets. So when I hit Control C, I have my captures, and with the word list RockU, which is like 10,000 of the most popular passwords or whatever, I could, if I had actually waited until one of my clients had disconnected and reconnected, run Aircrack with that word list against all of my captures that I just made. Now, it didn't find any WPA handshakes because I didn't wait that long, but that's kind of an overview of how Aircrack works, why it's a really neat tool, and it lets you see a lot of information about all of the Wi-Fi connections going on around you. Thank you.
In conclusion, we actually chose Aircrack, as you saw, to be the tool that we proceeded with. Companion tools will likely be needed to successfully hack a Wi-Fi network. Our results should be used as a starting point for any efforts to identify tools for use in wireless assessments, as every environment has specific needs that other tools may better fulfill. Thank you all for listening to our presentation, and have a good day.